Greetings YouTube. Today we're taking a look at a dive knife, which is very helpful in that it says right here on the handle, diver's knife. Isn't that nice? And there's no, I just noticed, there's no apostrophe in there. So I guess this is a knife that belongs to multiple divers. I picked this up at a yard sale for $5, which I think was worth for me. And the person had it actually zip tied to the strap of a dive vest, which I thought was kind of cool. I actually don't know what that says. Obviously, it's probably somebody's name, but I don't know what that is. Pretty standard in its design, plastic. Got a weep hole here, and what does that say? That says that's just like Taiwan, and it says patent P, so patent pending. I have no idea how old this knife is or where it was purchased. It's got no name brand on it for really. When I purchased it, it was in kind of rough shape. There was a lot of rusting and oxidation on the blade. I've got 99% of it off or so, but some of it is just being a bit tenacious. It's left some stains, but let's take a look at this thing. So it's the really best way to do this is I find this to be very uncomfortable, and I think it puts your hands in a bad position, particularly for a dive knife where you don't want to lose it. But that's very comfortable. And now I'm not concerned with dropping it because I've got a firm grip. As you can see, very simple mechanism. It just brings that little piece of plastic far enough away that it disengages from this little locking nub that is here on the blade. This says 420 stainless steel. It does not get more specific than that. And it says Taiwan, and again, patent P on the blade. I really liked this grip. I thought it was in it, and I was quite surprised how comfortable it is. It is, you are choking up onto the near the blade itself, but you're nowhere near it. That nub right there fits quite nicely between your fingers, and I find it very comfortable, particularly if you're holding it like this, which isn't an uncommon position because this is the kind of knife you're really going to be using for cutting tasks. It is a sheep's foot, because I wouldn't call that a Wharncliffe. I'd call that a sheep's foot. And interestingly, this section of the tip right here, no edge whatsoever. None whatsoever. This has actually got a flat on it. So this is very much designed for cutting and not for thrusting. And there you know there's a stain on the blade. I just can't get that off. Maybe there's a chemical treatment I could use, but I'm not going to go to that extent. I cleaned it as best I could, and I take my word for it, it looks a heck of a lot better now than it did when I purchased it a couple of days ago. But I like the overall vibe on this thing. It's a nice size. It's a good backup blade for diving. I can't imagine this would be your primary dive knife. But again, this was strapped to somebody's dive vest, so it's a knife that they did not probably depend on for their main use either. The guy had some serious diving equipment. It was quite impressive. He also had some serious climbing equipment. I wish I'd remembered that my wife is kind of looking for some rope, not for climbing, but just because it's always handy to have. I should have picked up the rope he had. I wouldn't trust it to climb with, but you know, it still could have been cool to use as, you know, for moving things from point A to point B on top of a vehicle or something. Obviously, you can see that this is a scalloped edge, and it's got an asymmetric, so large, small, as opposed to some which have the same size all the way up. And it's actually in solid condition. It's not dull in the least. The person who used this may not have dried it properly so that it wasn't stained or ended up with some rust on it. But it definitely was not abused as far as the edge is concerned, which is, you know, refreshing. As often if someone isn't going to take care of a blade as far as the condition of the metal is concerned, it also means they may not take care of the blade as in the manner that they use it. But this person didn't abuse it. Bravo on them. So yeah, and also I have to admit, I like this. I love that sound, man. That sound is so cool. Just a great sound. I don't know why I like it, but I do like it. I own a lot of dive knives, which is kind of funny because I've never been diving, and I never will be diving. I have a deep and abiding fear of seeing things, the water that I can't see through. So maybe could you convince me to go snorkeling in shallow water in like a tropical place? Probably, if I can see straight down. But there are still things in those shallow waters that still can cause me damage and/or want to eat me. I would rather not enter the food chain in that particular manner. But I love dive knives, and that's one of the reasons I own so many. So there you have, this is a diver's knife. That's it. I'm going to write it that way, divers, without an apostrophe. Just diver's knife. Multiple divers own this knife, which is probably true, actually. Who knows? Maybe more than one person did own this knife. But this has been my latest acquisition as far as dive knives is concerned. I'm really quite happy with it, and it's going to be a nice addition to my collection.